Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Earthly Headlines. Today we're going to talk about the oldest burial ground, or burial period, not even a burial ground, of a woman in Nicaragua 6,000 years ago. So let me rephrase that. The oldest burial ground found in Central America, lower Central America. So here's a map, and she was found in present-day Nicaragua right here, around Monkey Point or something like that, somewhere around here. The name of the site is called Bleera something, or is it Bleera Kaanu, where the village is anyway. That's the name of the Nicaraguan village. So somewhere around there they found the remains, and here's a picture of the remains right here. Her feet were, or her legs rather, were tucked up into her chest, and her arms were to her side, which is very interesting. So anyway, around 6,000 years ago, she was buried, and they found that she was unusually muscular. She had like big Popeye forearms or something like that, and they think that's probably because of her, not just her, but everybody around that time. They were rowing. They had rowboats, and they were rowing boats probably since they were little kids. And some of that tradition is still carried on today, because people from that village, there are like reports of 85-year-old women who still row to and from some of the islands off the coast there. So it's not surprising that an individual from 6,000 years ago, they still had that tradition back then. So that was one of the first things that I thought was peculiar about this, was that she was unusually muscular for someone her age of that time. Well, I guess it wasn't unusual if you put her in the context, but I guess they didn't expect that. And when I say they, I mean the archaeologists that found her. So she was laid on her back with legs tucked against her chest and arms prone to the sides of her body. She remained undisturbed for nearly 6 millennia. And the reason why the Caribbean's tropical conditions didn't just completely destroy her remains is because the people who buried her, there was an ancient shell mound that they deliberately constructed above her where she was buried. So it was like an assortment of shells just to mark burial sites, and they put it directly on top of her grave, so that according to the archaeologists, it lowered the acidity of the soil, and it kept her bones intact. So they call this archaeological site the Angie Shell Matrix site, which was first excavated in the 1970s, but they didn't unearth her grave until very, very recently. For whatever reason, I don't know why. Maybe just no one thought to do it. No one was getting paid to do it, but it took 30 plus years to actually get that. No, 40 plus years to her bones dug up. And I thought about this a lot. Just an aside here, this doesn't have anything to do with the article itself, but if you were an archaeologist and even if you weren't an archaeologist, let's just say you were somebody with some expertise in digging, and you knew there was a grave site, would you have the balls to dig it up? Assuming like you're in the clear legally, you have all the permissions and all that stuff. I don't know if I would even do it. I don't know. Maybe I would. But some people think that you get cursed. The people who first entered when they broke the seal of the tombs in Egypt and I think the pyramids, Tutankhamun's tomb for sure. Most of those people died in the excavation team. Weird, strange deaths. So I don't know if there really was a curse of Tutankhamun or whatever, or any other curse, but I don't know. If I was in the process of digging up the corpse, I would be thinking about a curse, definitely. Just, I wouldn't want that to happen, obviously. And on paper, it seems ridiculous. And on paper, I definitely would dig up the body, just because, for science, just to see what happened. What if she was buried with some treasure? Not that I'm greedy that I want the treasure, but I just want to know what she had. I would just give it to the museum or whatever. But the curse thing I think would really deter people. Anyway, I don't know why I talked about that, but I guess maybe Oh, I know why. Because maybe that's that's what the 40-year holdup was, right? It took 40 years for someone to get the balls to dig her up. But anyway, I digress. Like I said earlier, the acidic soil tends to damage bone. The shell mound placed over the woman's grave reduced the acidity level of the soil. I already talked about that. It preserved her remains. And this is a recreation of what it must have looked like when she was freshly dead. So you can see the figure here has their knees to their chest, and yeah. The woman was likely 25 years old at the time of her death, between 25 and 40. She was closer to the lower limit of this age range, well, they think anyway, because of the heavy wear on her teeth. Now, they think this might be because of a seafood-based diet, and when you're eating shellfish and all these other types of crustaceans, it tends to wear your teeth down. She was really short. She was 4'11", and had strongly developed musculature of the forearm. So she must have been like a fire plug, or just had, at the very least, had big forearms. She probably had strength developed from rowing. Kids as young as 9 rowed around Rama Islands, a cluster of land on Nicaragua's eastern coast. So it's not out of the ordinary to see this. So back then, they must have had communities where they were rowing on a daily basis. Enough to, well, rowing wasn't a weird thing to them. It was part of everyday life if women, children, and elderly people were doing it. It remains too early for researchers to offer a definitive analysis of the culture that produced the woman. This is very interesting because they don't know yet. It's very they just dug her up. So they're going to run all kinds of tests on her, and I'm probably going to revisit this down the road. But her remains are being held in the CIDCA Historical Cultural Museum. Archaeologists will have to determine their next step soon because they're building a canal, and the canal might destroy a bunch of acres of wetlands and stuff. And so there probably are other burials out there. For sure, there are other burials out there. But time's ticking, so they've got to dig up as many people as they can, or just excavate as much as they can before they build this waterway, this artificial 173-mile waterway. Yeah, anyway, as I was saying, this woman, since it's the oldest burial, she's 6,000 years old, they could probably do a lot of genetic tests on her. They have bones, a lot of other stuff deteriorated still, but perhaps they could get some information from whatever remains of her and really map out the genetics of the time. I did a video a few months ago discussing the peopling of all the Americas, North, Central, and South America. And one of the points I made in that video was that there needs a serious lack of ancient bodies to test. And although they have found some, especially a lot in the Andes, the older and the more they find, the better, because that's more information to cross-examine with the already existing information. And I think someone like her, this individual, would be perfect to add possibly not just one wrinkle, several wrinkles into this picture that we have of the peopling of the Americas. And I'm not saying that she's a missing link or something, but what if she has some genetics that we haven't seen yet? What if she came from another part of, instead of the Bering Strait, maybe, or maybe her genetics did come from the people of Beringia, but maybe they took a circuitous route. Maybe her and her ancestors rode there from somewhere else. Rode meaning like rowboating there. Who knows? But I'm pretty sure they're going to do all this analysis. At least I hope so. I mean, they're keeping her in this museum. So, and whenever they keep something in the museum, unless it's on display, scientists can get permission from whoever owns her. I think the museum owns her. I don't know who does. Maybe the tribe that she belongs to owns her. I don't know. That's kind of a gray area. But the fact that she's in the museum means that she's available for analysis. So let me know what you guys think about this, about the ancient people of Central America, this particular case, other old graves, whether it's in America or other parts of the world. If you have any expertise in forensic analysis, I'd be glad to hear what you have to say. But I thought this is a really cool discovery that has a lot of potential. Like, as you guys can see, a Smithsonian says she just got discovered. So who knows what other pending tests there are that they've either already done or plan to do. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys later.